So very, very welcome to everyone. This is our Monday webinar. This is my weekly watch list for those that may have never attended or this is your first time. This is basically where I just share a couple of things I'm looking at this week. This is not everything that I'm looking at. This is not every single trade that I'll watch and take and so on and so forth. These are just a couple of the main setups that I think are pretty fantastic. And we want to kind of keep an eye on some of these big, massive trades and be ready to see kind of where they all go this week. So that is what we'll cover. Any questions or comments? Because I'm on one screen and I have to minimize the chat, I'll just kind of keep checking back and making sure that if you have a question that I've answered it and that everything's good there. So feel free to ask away. Remember, this is Day Traders FX and we are a trading group, and so you can absolutely get a free trial to our trade group by clicking on that link right there, or you can just simply go to daytradersfx.com/join, or click on the join button when you get to daytradersfx.com. And it'll give you a full solid week of fantasticness for absolutely free, and you can see how we look at markets, how the kind of trade ideas I have, and the things that I do, and what it's like to be part of a live chat group. So we'd love to have you, and you can go right to that link and get set up there. Okay, now the next thing I'm looking at here is we've got a lot of news this week. This week is not going to be a low news week, so just kind of plan on that whole situation. So what we have, kind of the first and most imminent news that we have coming up here is at about 9:30 p.m. Pacific, we have Australian interest rates, and you know, pretty regardless, that is just a big mover most of the time. So there's exceptions, but that's definitely a pretty big mover, and that's coming up in about 5 hours. So just be ready for that. If you have any Aussie pairs, any Aussie trades going on, just be aware that that is coming, and it will probably be a fairly large mover. I'll kind of be checking for group members, paying members of the group. I will be checking in, probably around that time, and just kind of seeing how things look and what impact it had on the market. We won't necessarily have a live session, but it's worth keeping an eye on. It could definitely move. And then we have more Euro group meetings. We're still trying to figure out what this whole Greece situation is going to turn out to be. There's going to be a lot of talk on that. Then we have trade balance for U.S. and Canada on Tuesday. Wednesday, FOMC meeting minutes, and that's definitely a little bit of a mover, especially now when we're kind of looking at an interest rate hike potentially in the U.S. So that's going to be a big deal. And then Wednesday evening we have Australian employment numbers, and we may have a live session for that with group members. I'll keep you guys posted on that. That's looking pretty good. And then on Thursday we have interest rate news for the UK, and that's a big mover. And on Friday, employment numbers for Canada. So we have some pretty big news coming out this week, and we'll just kind of see where it all goes. Okay, so Greece has voted no, and they're just kind of swirling right now and trying to figure out how everything's gonna play out. Imagine like two governments or two major leaders trying to negotiate something. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a yes, no, and a maybe, and then some appeals, and then some whole bunch of stuff. So the Greece party is not over yet. There's still a lot to come there, and it's making for some pretty interesting volatility on the euro. Now, one thing that we've talked about as the days have gone on is that the seasonality of trading is we've seen a huge run on the U.S. dollar, and then it's kind of been pulling back. The U.S. dollar really, it made its high and its low about 1 year apart, and it's retraced a good little bit. The euro dollar and some of these dollar pairs have retraced a good little bit. The euro is currently about 600 pips or so off of its low, and it went as high as about 1,000 pips off of its low. So it made a nice little comeback from this big run down here, but it's crossed the 23% fib several times. It still hasn't reached that 38% fib, which there's actually, believe it or not, technically speaking, a decent likelihood of that. It still has not touched the 200 moving average on the daily chart, which is a pretty high likelihood of that happening as well. A lot of interesting things are happening here, and we have this crazy trend line on the euro dollar that seems to be holding up pretty well. The euro, every time it gaps down, we have these gaps, and we've had them a couple weeks in a row now. We had this big gap last week, and the euro just recovered 100+% of it. And we had this big gap this week, and it's recovered, most of that. And the euro just keeps dipping down, but for some reason, it doesn't seem to want to go lower. Now, I am I see both sides of this movement, and I think it could be very interesting, and I think it's going to be very volatile and very risky as well. It's going to be a little bit hard to tell exactly what ends up happening, how the currency is going to be affected because of how all this, this is a semi-unprecedented event that we're looking at, which is, potentially Greece leaving the European Union and so on. And so nobody really knows exactly how everything's going to go there. But right now, I'm still just ever so slightly holding on to my bullish euro dollar outlook. I don't think that I'm necessarily ready to put some money on the line. That's when you know that I'm not excessively confident, because I'm not totally ready to put money on the line, but I am watching it very closely. And you can see at this 10900, 10950, the levels keep moving down a little bit. I said 11050, and then it dipped down and ran right back up again. Then I said 110, and it dipped down and ran right back up again. So now we're kind of just going off of some of these levels and these lows. I haven't done anything in the euro dollar in a little while, but as long as it kind of stays above this trend line in this whole area right here, this 109.50, I'm still holding on to my ever so slight bullish outlook. And if it makes a big run up, I will short it somewhere up probably around 11300 if we see that hit. And if it breaks out below 109.50, I'll probably be looking to short that as well. But if it kind of stays where it is and does what it's doing, there may be an opportunity to look for a buy situation here. So we're looking for that as a potential entry to buy the euro dollar against this 109.50-ish kind of zone where it currently is. So again, I'm not totally putting my money on this. This euro dollar has been quite choppy, and it's been quite all over the place. You can see this chart of the last couple of months has just been, typical summer craziness on top of, the Greece situation. And so it's going to be volatile. It's going to be crazy, but I do like that above 109.50 area / 10900. I think the ultimate break of 10900 is the death of the euro dollar. And from there, below 10900, it is headed due south. But as long as it holds on to that 109.50, and so on, I think we can hold on to that bullish outlook. So I will be very cautiously looking to buy some dips on euro dollar this week, and we'll see how that goes. It's going to be a very cautious situation, and I will only take entries as close to these crucial levels as possible. Like, for example, if I'm trading against 109.50, I'm going to get in at 109.75. I mean, I'm going to risk like 25 pips on this thing, and if it breaks that level, I'm going to be out very, very quickly. And if it doesn't give me just a really tight, easy, low stop loss setup, then I'm just not going to mess with it because it's going to be a crazy one. So that's euro dollar. We've got to keep an eye on that. Some interesting things are happening there, and it looks good. Now, here's the pound dollar. The pound dollar has done a lot of what I wanted it to do. This was a trade we had within the group last week, and it's kind of bumped around a little bit, and we ended up getting stopped out at 1 pip profit or break even. But the pound dollar has been all over the place, and the pound dollar still looks like a pretty viable option for some nice buying opportunities. There's a good trend in place here. It's made some nice runs down and some nice runs up. And the pound dollar seems to be just really strong and recovering these dips quite a bit. And so I think we're in the earlier, kind of the mid stages probably of a decent uptrend here. We might have a couple more months left on this one. And so what I wanted to see happen here was this little run up. I wanted to see it come down and hit that 50% fib, which it basically exactly did. 50% fib was around 155.50, and it got down here to, we saw a low of about 155.30, and then it kind of held onto that, and it's coming up off this. So I like buying the pound dollar against about 155.00. Anything below 155.00, and I think pound dollar might be headed, that it might be kind of falling off the cliff as well. But as long as 155.00 can hang in there, then I think I want to be long pound dollar, and looking for targets of conservatively about 158.50, but I think we can get back up into the 160 area. And so I think 160 is a really good target for this one. It's a great psychological level. We have some fantastic missed pivots up in here, some clusters of pivots. It's just a really, really good area. So 160 is a great looking spot. Being long against 155.00 is looking great. And I think there's a couple hundred pips we can grab out of this pound dollar. So that's looking good. I just want to say something real super quick on this Aussie dollar. We were talking about last week buying dips above 75.50, and we broke below 75.50 by a little bit, and it looks like the Aussie dollar is making its way south as well, like it's continuing on this downtrend. We have a nice falling wedge in play here, but it's starting to get below some pretty crucial support, so it might be time to look for opportunities to sell the rally on the Aussie dollar. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Again, not a major top priority, and we'll see how things look after the interest rate announcements tonight, but Aussie dollar looks like a good opportunity there. Now, as all of that goes, I've been talking about the Aussie dollar being a little bit weak, and the euro is totally volatile and totally crazy. But I think the euro might do okay. I think it might just be okay. And if this Aussie weakness continues and the euro okayness continues, then we're going to end up with a pretty good opportunity on the euro Aussie. And as it stands right now, you can see on this 1 hour chart, we have a pretty good bull flag. This is run up and then just consolidated. And I really kind of like this euro Aussie for a continuation up. It's at 147. It's already made a pretty good recovery off this dip right here. And it's just kind of playing with these highs of the month and struggling just a little bit with those monthly highs around 147, 70, 80 area, and even 14800. And so now, as we start to break out of that bull flag and get above that, I think we've got 150 to 200 pips fairly easily on Euro Aussie. So again, with this one, it's kind of a crazy looking inverse head and shoulders pattern, but it seems to be in play and it seems to be doing pretty well. And so, so I like buying the Euro Aussie, probably against about, 146.50, about 100 pips below where it currently is. If it can stay above 146.50 area, then I think we've got a pretty good chance to be bullish Euro Aussie. So I like buying any dips or just trading the break of this bull flag. Either of those are pretty excellent little trade opportunities. And then semi-last but not least, we're seeing a lot of pressure on the Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar is facing some weakness. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders pattern that we've been talking about right here, a semi-crazy looking one, and how we want to be long dollar CAD, and I like that. And I think this is a pretty great entry, and it's been working its way up and kind of just moving on through these levels here. So as long as this is staying above about 125.50, so again about 100 pips below where we currently are, if it stays above 125.50, then I like being long dollar CAD as well. And I think the dollar CAD's got a pretty good opportunity to continue up into the 128s, 129s, and we may even see 130 on dollar CAD, especially with some interest rate stuff coming up eventually with dollar CAD or with the Canadian dollar itself. We could see some more Canadian dollar weakness. Now, taking us to the next level of Canadian activity, we've talked about the Australian dollar, US dollar, breaking some lows, and the Euro Aussie holding on to those lows. So we've got pretty clear Australian dollar weakness, and it appears that we have pretty clear Canadian dollar weakness. And so as long as the euro can kind of hang in here and doesn't crash on us and crash and burn, which is a very real possibility, then the euro CAD is a really great trade as well. The only time the euro CAD is really broken below our crucial level of 137.50 is when we had a little gap down. So this is our neckline of our huge inverse head and shoulders pattern. It's broken out and it's just chopped around here, but it spiked below our neckline for just literally hours because of that gap, but it ran right back up as quick as it came down. In the process, creating a pretty nice little bull flag right here, which is trying to kind of stay above that area. But I still 100%, 1000% completely support EuroCAD longs as long as this naturally, without any weekend gaps and that kind of stuff, stays above 137.50. Now we're 200 plus pips above that, so it's a little ways away, but 137.50 is kind of our make or break level. So any opportunities to buy some dips on EuroCAD against 137.50 is great, number one. Number two, any opportunities to continue to trade the breaks of these highs, this kind of 130, 139.50, 140, up into 142 and 145 is great. So we're looking for 14200 to get hit and 14500 to get hit. And I would say there's a really, really good opportunity and a good chance that those are going to get hit. So I'm loving all of that. We've got some really fantastic setups. Euro dollar is holding on to this level. We want to see 10900 / 10950 hold, and then we want to trade this up into about 113 area and then kind of just see where it goes from there. Pound dollar, we want to see about 15500 hold. As long as 15500 stays, then we want to be long pound dollar, and that looks super excellent. Aussie dollar, I'm probably looking to sell the rallies on this one because of breaking that crucial level that it broke here at 75.50. But we'll see how that looks after the interest rate news. Euro CAD, I want to be long Euro CAD as long as it stays above 137.50, and I'm looking to target 142 and 145. And then we're keeping a pretty casual but close eye on Euro Aussie, and as long as Euro Aussie stays above about 146.50, then we want to get into this one and be long Euro Aussie as well. So it's looking good. One last little peek for anybody trading gold out there. I could feel my ears were burning. If gold kind of continues doing what it's doing, which has just been sideways and choppy, we're still looking for any possibilities to get short on gold below 1160, or we want to be long gold above 1205. Anything in the middle is going to put you into months and months of chop, so we don't want to get into that too much. So 1160 break short, 1205 break get long. So there's lots of updates to come this week, lots of things to watch, but I think that should get everybody started and going on the right path. So any questions or any comments about any of that, please don't hesitate to let me know. I am happy as ever to help with any of that. And thanks for spending a little bit of time with us on a Monday afternoon to look at the markets. Thanks for being here, guys. I will post this recording and send it out to everybody fairly immediately. So thanks again, everyone. Questions, comments, send them on over. I'll be here for a couple of minutes, and we'll get this recording up and going. Thanks, everyone.